Hey there, Global here, presenting part 5 of our 001 networking co-op tutorial. This will be the last video in the crash course series where we'll be going over syncing movement between two clients. The movement will just consist of simple walking left and right and jumping. So let's get started. The first thing I'd like to do is go back into the input controls and set up our client request. So when you press left, it will move the appropriate actor left on your game, but we also want it to move the same actor on your friend's game. If you remember from our previous videos, I showed you an example of a command I wrote, and that's the one we're actually going to be implementing here. Sync X movement host -1. Now we can't just type this out exactly how it is because the input script can also be executed by the guest, so we need to use a couple text combines to concatenate it. Text 1 is sync X movement with a space at the end there. Text 2 will be another text combine. And text 1 of this one will either be returning host or guest, so we'll use a switch condition. If hosting is true, return host, else return guest. And in text 2 we'll type -1 with a space before it, because again, we need to make sure there's one space between each part of the command. Now we can take this and copy it to the rest of them. And change the last part of the command to the correct number. So -1 for left, 1 for right, and 0 for stop. And for the jump control, the command will be sync jump actor name. And we'll perform the same steps, returning the correct actor ID for the command. Now we have to actually make these commands work. I'm just going to check this now. I should have a while ago, but client requests should only be sent from clients to the server. We worked with the connect command for a while. Now we're going to go down the sync command branch and make a subscript for that. We can once again copy a multi-comparison branch so we don't have to make one from scratch. We can use the one from the connect subscript and change the values. The values we're looking for in this one is X movement and jump. Now we need something to run here. So we'll create a new network message, call it change X movement. Create a parameter called actor with a dynamic list of actor. And another parameter called X movement, which will be a number, and set it to send from server to clients. In the script, it will simply run a change movement X event, and we'll fill in our parameters here. Let's go ahead and make the jump network message as well. We'll call it jump actor. In the script, simply use a jump actor event and use the actor parameter. Back in the client request, in the sync subscript, we can call the change X movement network message when the command equals sync X movement. Now the first thing we see is the client ID field, like always. So far, for most of these network messages, we could just use the network message client ID to send it back to the client who requested it. But in this case, we want to send this to the friend of the client who sent the request. So this is where we're getting into some complex territory. What needs to happen here is we need to take the client ID of the person who requested the X movement change and then find them in the online sessions collection. Then once we find them, we'll grab their friend's client ID recorded in the collection entry. Because of the complexity and how frequently we would use this, it only makes sense to create a custom event for this task. So let's go ahead and do that now. So let's go into custom events and create one called return friend client ID. we'll check the box for function displayed in use value window and create a parameter called checked client ID and make it a number. In the script, we're going to run a collection loop, so we'll make a local variable called session loop entry then add the loop. And we'll be looking through our online sessions collection. In the script of the loop, we'll check for a couple things. We'll have to do some splitting of the text again, so we're looking for an element of a collection, and the collection is text split into collection. The text is the session loop entry, and the delimiter is the pound symbol. And the entry number is 2, because that's the spot that records the host client ID. Then the value we're checking for is checked client ID. If this statement is false, then we can run this same comparison branch again, but check the third part of the text. Oh, and something important to do here is run another comparison branch at the top to make sure the text has 3 chunks, because if you remember from previous videos, when an online session is first established, it only contains 2 parts of text, the password and the host client ID. So if it goes down the branches and finds the client ID to be the host, then it needs to return the guest client ID. Then we'll use the return value event. And then we just need to grab the appropriate part of the text, which for the guest client ID would be the third part. And then if it turns out to be the guest ID it finds, it will return the host ID, which would be the second part of the text. We can return to network messages, client requests, and our sync subscript. Use the change X movement network message, and for the client ID, we will use our custom event called return friend client ID and set the checked client ID to the network message client ID. The way we determine which actor this will be executed on is the third part of the command. And for X movement, we can copy what we did for the actor and change the 3 to a 4 because the X movement value is stored on the fourth part of the command. And now we can do the jump as well. Repeat the same steps for the client ID and the actor. Now let's test it out. So we'll host a game on one client and join on the other. Now when we move, we can see it is perfectly synced on both windows. We can walk left and right and jump as both the host and the guest. So that's going to be it for this video and this Crash Course series. I hope it's helped, and I hope to see more online 001 games out there. Like the video if you're feeling generous, and subscribe if you want to see more of these 001 tutorials. Comment if you have any requests for tutorials, I'd be happy to make more. See you in the next one.